as always, and joined by
Danny Shanholzer.
and Danny Shanholter's dog, apparently.
Exactly.
Um,
Daisy says hello. Jeez, oh man.
I'll mute you for a minute. Wait, here, you can mute yourself. All right, Danny, today we're going to be talking about the Pirates season and how it has really gone downhill since, I don't even remember. Just give me kind of thoughts on kind of what went wrong and what the Pirates can do to hopefully rebound into next year.
Zach, I am so glad we got a chance to talk about this, man, because I've had a lot of thoughts, and I think a lot of Pirates fans need somewhere to vent my frustration. So I'm looking forward to this podcast and the ability to do that. Zach, as far as what went wrong, I think we need to think about where we are in terms of financial um, availability, first of all, and I think it stems from that. Okay, and this is my whole thing about the Pirates. It seems like we spend money in weird places and then
We
don't
do.
fully commit to actually spending money. Now, what do you mean by that, Danny? Well, I'm glad you asked in that rhetorical way. Because what I mean by that is we give Brian Reynolds an 8-year extension. I think a tremendous deal. But at the same time, we keep Brian Hayes an extension, and he's been one of our worst hitters this whole year because he cannot figure out how to hit right-handed pitching. Now his splits against lefties have been pretty good, but I got a news flash for you, Zach. As a fellow lefty, there
Oh
are
boy,
less lefties than there are righties in the world.
there
That
are. We're weird people.
we
We
are.
are weird people.
Yes, and like I just feel like this team doesn't have quite an identity in terms of who we are and how we choose to approach games and win games, and just an identity in terms of the financial aspect of it. So I mean, I think we'll get more into the play and the trends of different players and how that's affected it. But it starts off, I think, from the top down, and I just don't think we're a very financially smart organization.
Well, Danny, I'll give you this: the Pirates, and Pirates and Bob. Whoops, Pirates and Bob Nutting. They run the team like a business, and honestly, they don't care. They don't care about the on-field product. They can say they do,
Hmm.
but you can have half a brain and realize that they don't care about winning because they don't employ the right people to teach their players the right things. And
No,
also, Danny, why in the world are we moving O'Neill Cruz, who is a shortstop, a 6'7" one at that, into center field, left field, right field, one of
yes,
those.
yes.
That he has no idea what the hell he's doing out there. And then who are we putting there? Did we put IKF there?
We put IKF there, yeah.
Yeah, I like IKF a lot, but I think that he should be. Where was he at initially? I forget where he was.
He was at second initially.
Yeah, I just think that why are we needlessly toying around with people's positions when people are we're just not making good baseball decisions.
No, I would completely agree with that, Jack. And I think, and I have a whole spiel on player development too. We can get into.
Please, yes.
Um, we can get into. But I mean, I think it all that decision with Ono the Ono Cruz decision comes back to player development, and I think Ono Cruz has great power potential, but he should have never been recruited as a shortstop. So I commend them for making that move to um to a different position, such as center field, because it's still the spine, like in the spine of defense. And I mean, I think he's been doing a decent job out there, and he's handled the move with professionalism and all that, which you love to see. But Zach, like, and we'll have to see how this develops, and I'm fine with him playing out there because right now the games really don't matter. It's all about development, and that's why I'm glad Billy Cook has moved up. He made a fantastic play a week ago or so where he made just a great play on a fly ball in stands. So I'm happy to see the young guys finally getting a chance. I just wish that we were in a better spot in terms of September call-ups. We actually
Mhm.
put them up in September when the games actually mattered. But Zach, here's what I'll say about player development, and I think the player development argument, the fact that they're not doing their job starts with Henry Davis, right? Henry Davis was the number one overall pick, and he goes up to AAA and can't, or goes up from AAA to the majors, and he can't seem to figure out how to catch. And I just think that um, he just is a guy that if he's number one overall, he should be able to catch and hit. And the fact that he really hasn't been able to do both super effectively is a major failure in player development. I mean, and I think it's really, really annoying to me that he's the number one overall pick, and we're still having to, have him try and figure out like how to play his position. The scouts should have realized what they had in him, and maybe that he could have been a second or third round pick and not the first overall pick, Zach.
Mhm. Um, okay, that kind of put me on the spot there. Let's see. I heard you had a whole speech. Oh, wait, talk about Paul Skeens. Yeah, talk about Paul Skeens. That's our next thing. Um, Paul Skeens and just kind of his impact on this team.
Yeah, for sure, Zach, dude. I am about as fired up as the dog right now when talking about Paul Skeens because here's the thing. Here is the thing that I want our listeners to realize. Okay, Paul Skeens has pitched tremendously in most of his starts as a Pirate. He
Hmm.
started 21 games for the Pirates so far, and his ERA is 2.16, which is a tremendous ERA. Every uh, every start except for a couple bad apples, which pitchers are allowed to have from time to time, Paul Skeens has given us a chance to win. And even when he doesn't have his best stuff, he finds a way to grind through 5 innings or so, even when he doesn't have his best stuff. But the Pirates have lost 8 of the 21 games that uh, that Paul Skeens has pitched, and I believe we are 50-58 as we sit here today. Oh no, my bad. 70-78. I know we've played more games than that. We are 70-78 as we sit here today. If we would have won all those 8 games, we would be a 500 team and be more um in the hunt for a wild card spot. And the fact that we're not shows that we have some holes here, Zach. And I know that like I shouldn't be too surprised because we got a bunch of guys on 1 year deals and a bunch of guys that are past their prime. But it's
Hmm.
infuriating to me when we have a generational talent like Paul Skeens and we lose 8 of the 21 games that he's pitched. That is
Yeah,
way too many.
yeah. And he has had in those 8 losses or so, he has had no run support at all. He's had none. So, he can go out there and pitch, 7 innings of two-hit ball, let's say, and it all be for none because the team behind him is not good.
Yes.
And also, Jenny, I've noticed, I, I think this downfall started, have you ever seen I'm going to mute you. Have you ever seen the um, Twitter account images that precede unfortunate events or something like that? So the Pirates posted a thing. It was Mitch Keller, Jared Jones, somebody else that was supposed to start 3 game. It was 3 game homestand, PNC Park, and we gave up. Danny fact checked me. I think it was 22 runs, I believe, in that game, and just the reaction on Danny's face there really does tell you kind of how bad this team is. Danny kind of talked to me. I think that's kind of when this downfall started. And think about Danny a month or two ago. That's we were looking at at being kind of in the hunt here.
Yeah, Zach. I think the way you phrased it and the way that Twitter account phrased it is tremendous. Um, when you are really you can really see you can trace everything back to that, and the fact that we some questionable decisions out of Derek Shelton in a Sunday
A lot
afternoon
of
Arizona Diamondbacks game. What's up, bro? Sorry.
I said a lot of questionable decisions by Shelton.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of questionable decisions on the part of Derek Shelton, leading to that Arizona game where, if you remember, Colin Holman came in for the second or third straight day and blew a lead that Paul Skeens had given the Pirates, and that good hitting had given the Pirates, and we go on a 10-game losing streak, and the effort, frankly, just isn't there. We're not fully there in that 10-game losing streak, and I mean that really cost us our season, Zach. So there's been a number of unfortunate events. You highlighted that one where we just we scored 10 runs, but then we gave up 22 in 2 games. I mean that's not a recipe for success here, and it just seems as though because you know because we are in this position, every move that Derek Shelton makes is going to get amplified,
Yeah,
and then when you like, it just annoys me that he gets an Derek Shelton and the Pirates get annoyed that the media is asking questions of
yeah.
him,
I was gonna bring
and
that
then
up.
we proceed to keep losing blowouts.
Yeah, yeah. Or bad question, Noah, or something like that.
It, and,
That
and
was.
and it's like do you not really see what the fans are feeling? Like,
Mm-hmm.
can we have? And I think this year, honestly, starting 9-2, I think gave us like a little bit of like false optimism
False,
here,
yeah,
and the fact that Jared Jones and Paul Skeens started out just they looked, and Mitch Keller started off like world beaters, and I am optimistic for the future because we have Andy Rodriguez and Johan Oviedo coming back. Like those are all that's all good pieces that we didn't have this year that are coming back. But it's like it starts from the top down, and
hmm
what got us those 9 wins, Zach, was smart situational baseball, and then we seem to just get away from that, and
yeah,
then it just. Again, I know it's a long season, and matchups and all that that has an impact and everything like that. But it seems like we had an identity in those first 11 games, of stealing bases and trying to leg out an infield hit, and now or running a guy over. Zach, we
yeah,
are a small market baseball team. A
yeah,
small market baseball team. We are one of the top three, or the bottom two payrolls in the MLB. We should know how to bunt
yeah.
because we need to
We
know how
should.
to bunt. How did
Yeah,
Dude, how did the Oakland Athletics in 2002 make it all the way to the ALCS in Moneyball by playing
you
small ball
really
and
went back.
bunting?
That's before both of us were even born.
Yeah, dude, but
Um,
baseball's not rocket science. It's
yeah,
complicated, but it's not rocket science. And Derek Shelton, oh, I mean, he's a nice guy, and I think he says a lot of the right things to the media. But
hmm
at some point, figure out a better approach for
yeah.
us here. I don't know.
And you notice something. I know I've noticed a pattern in the beginnings of the last couple seasons. You have 20-8. Started 20-8 a couple seasons ago. You started. What do you say 9-2 this year?
Yeah.
You notice what they did correctly
Mhm.
in those stretches. They played small ball and they played it well.
Yes.
So
That's our formula, Zach. That's our
a-
formula.
and what I'm not understanding is why we're getting away from that. We play so well. I mean, we started 20-8 either last year or 2 years ago, and like why we get away from this is just beyond me. Uh, looking into next season, what do you think needs to happen? anything from the front office termination standpoint?
I think it honestly. I think it starts. I think it starts with Derek Shelton because I'm
Hmm.
willing to give Ben Sherrington another shot because he has brought in Joey Bart. And Joey Bart's been a bright spot for
Yeah,
his
yeah,
team.
yeah. That's been a bright spot. I meant to mention that. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't I like because I think sometimes you know I would characterize this as us being exasperated by a decision ourselves or a friend made because it comes from a place of love, right? We both love the Pirates and we want the best for this team.
we do.
We do, and I need to check myself heading into next season. It's fully optimism. It's a new year and new possibilities come. But Zach, I think what needs to happen for us to be optimistic is for we to move on from Derek Shelton to try and like internally and externally, if we can, find another Joey Bart, find another Brian De La Cruz if he finally figures it out how to hit, which hopefully he can. But I mean, that probably wasn't the best example because he's been striking out a lot. But I would love to I think we've got to figure out Onu Cruz's role in the team as center fielder. I think um, we've got to move on from Yasmani Grandal because he's past his prime, and
Yeah,
every game that and give granted I haven't been. I mean, I feel like with football season, my baseball consumption has taken a back seat, and I think that's probably the case for most fans, especially the Pirates. But I feel like Yasmani Grandal just like I give him credit for catching schemes, but that's all. That's all that he's kind of good for because I
yeah,
mean he is way past his prime. So we need to get kind of more structure in terms of our our lineup here. And then Zach, we like what? Why don't we like try and do something crazy? Do something like bring in this like unconventional hitting coach and try to figure out like a new approach here.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, 'cause Andy Haynes certainly ain't it.
I agree, Zach. And also, I mean, we need to figure out what's going on with David Bednar here because I mean, that's been the bullpen. The perceived strength of this team is really struggled in my view. Like I mean, I don't know. I want to believe in the bullpen, but Zach, when we
You
were
can't.
in
Yeah.
positions to win, when we had quality starts, because at the beginning of the year, our pitchers and even our starting pitching depth has been pretty good. Even Bailey Falter's been able to give us something here. Um, but our bullpen just sometimes come came in and just didn't have the stuff to get us through the game. And I mean that there's nothing more discouraging than that because a bullpen is supposed to be your shutdown unit. And I mean, I felt pretty confident with Bednar, Holderman. Holderman was looking like an all star in the first half of the season.
Hmm.
Not to mention, Zach, we got to figure it out. I would probably trade Aroldis Chapman. I might have traded him at the deadline because he's 1 year, 10.5 million, and he's not exactly like he could throw gas, but sometimes he's a little flustered. So I mean, I think we need to move on from him and spend money and allocate resources better than what we have because him being a 10.5 million guy and us still losing a lot of games isn't the recipe for success in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, Danny, I have one more point on the player development side, and then
Yeah.
we can I'll give you your chance to make your closing remarks, and we can wrap things up. So my last point I forgot to mention earlier,
Yeah.
Danny, give me your thoughts on the Andy Rodriguez is currently on the injured list. He hurt
Mm.
himself playing winter ball, I believe.
Yeah.
My question, Danny, is why would he be allowed to play winter ball when you have such potential in a catcher? And in his short stint up here, he was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a tough one, Zach. And you always think of how you could have handled it differently. And I mean, I think they wanted him to get more at bats, but also you got to realize that you want to be available for the Major League Baseball season. Um,
Hmm.
and so I think, I mean, that's just, I think Andy Rodriguez is going to come back and have a big season. Like I saw him
Yeah, he will. Yeah.
taking batting practice a few weeks ago, and he looks really good. And he's a young guy too. He's only 21 or 22, I think. But but Zach, I mean, just again, I'll say this, in that we, I think this front office has really got to look inward and see if they believe they can put a small market quality baseball team together. I know it's hard, and I think next year, 2025, is the year, because
Mhm.
we're going to have all our guys coming back, all our horses in the race, so to speak. And but baseball is also such a cruel game, because Jared Jones hasn't pitched in 2 months here, and that's a huge loss. So we're like one arm away from being significantly debilitated. But Zach, like, our front office, I just wish they would be more clear with the fans.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what I want from the front office. Like, if it's a rebuild, if you think that you're not gonna make the playoffs, call it a rebuild. Cause, like, to your point, like, if like, you should not run a baseball team as a business. You should run it as a baseball team.
Yeah. No.
Baseball team, a baseball is a business, but building a baseball team isn't a business.
Mm.
Your job is to try and get the best players on the field. Um, and I would just love, like, I think we've been doing so many, we've had so many losing seasons in a row here now. I mean,
Yeah.
and we're seeing like development. We got Paul Skeens and Jared Jones and good young hitters, like like Brian Reynolds. I mean, he's been great for us, and Kutch is a veteran guy that's been great for us, Zach.
Hmm.
But, like, I think the fans deserve to know what the actual plan is, and also deserve to know what the manager's getting paid. What is the manager's extension? We don't know for how long he's extended for,
Oh
or
yeah, we
for,
don't. I forgot
or,
about that. We don't.
or for how much money he's extended for. And that comes back to just the lack of, like, urgency from the front office. And I think it stems from Bob Nutting, just like having to spend money. And, like, Bob, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if it's not working, and if you don't like the direction that management is trying to take us, because Ben Sherrington's hands are tied, then do an act of service and sell the team, because you've had your shot. And I and Pittsburgh want to see a winning team. We want to
Hmm.
see a winning team, Zach. So
Yeah. To
I
put that
don't
in
know.
perspective, I am 21 years old, and I have seen I think the Pirates play in two playoff games in my life,
Yeah,
and they have not been competitive in either of them. Have you? Yeah, yeah, you were. When was the last time? So
it was 13, 14, and 15.
yeah,
And
13, 14, 15. Yeah, you
13 was the big one, because that when we won that wild card game
yeah.
against the
I,
Reds, the Cueto game.
I don't remember that one. The one I remember, I think it was they were playing the Cubs, I think, and they lost by. Or there
Uh,
was one we were playing. We were playing, I think, San Francisco, and we
no, that
it
was,
was like
yeah, that was the 8-0 game in, like, the first 3 innings or something like that.
yeah,
That's what it
yeah.
was.
I think that ended up being like 10-1. But yeah, like like I said, I'm 21. I want to see more. I want to see Pirates make bring a pennant back to the city. I mean we saw
Yes,
the Pens do it in 16, 17.
I like the hat, by
Um,
the way, Zach. Repping it,
thank you,
buddy. Repping
thank you.
it.
We'll be getting more into NHL as we season gets closer here. Speaking of good old radio tease for you, next episode we're going to be recapping and doing a dedicated episode to the tremendous occasion that was the 107th edition of the Backyard Brawl. I have not yet had time to watch the full game yet. I heard it on radio, but I want to go back and actually watch it, as I feel like that would be um, That would be the best thing for the show. And that, Danny, I recommend you do the same. I hope you taped it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, that will be hopefully tomorrow, and then next time or next episode after that, we're gonna do week two recap of the NFL and talk about the Steelers and all of that fun and glorious stuff. Danny, any final thoughts before we wrap things up here?
No, Zach. I'm gonna try to be optimistic here about the rest of the Pirates season and look in terms of through a developmental lens. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I think we gotta try our best. And I know we spent I especially I think our fans realize that we gotta try and move forward. And I
Mm-hmm.
know, but it was also important that we realized to go back in the past because people need to hear. And I wish management would listen to this podcast. See what to a 17-year-old and a 21-year-old think about the Pirates, and I think
Mm-hmm.
we gave them some good things to think about here. So we'll be optimistic, but I'm glad to we got that off our chest. You know what I mean, Jeff?
Yeah. All right, that will just about wrap us up here on the 39th edition, yes, of
39th.
the thank you of the Local Lowdown podcast. Danny, thank you for your tremendous time and insight into the nothing burger that is the Pirates Baseball Club as we sit here on September the 15th, 2024. We will see you next time, hopefully tomorrow, for the Backyard Brawl recap. I will get that scheduled, Danny, and I will talk off air and get a time kind of set aside for that. I can see that being a longer show, as I know there's a lot to talk about. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But for now, his name is Daniel. My name is Zach, and we will see you next time right here on the Local Lowdown podcast. Thank you very much for watching and